Hello friends, welcome back to another Alpha League sesh with me, AVB. Today I'm very excited to cover Spin Finance. Spin Finance is the first of several full-order decentralized exchanges coming to the Near protocol, and there's several reasons why I'm really excited. First one is, when I got into Near, like a long time ago, I really bought into the vision and the technology, but the truth is there was really not that many things to do online. Spin Finance is the first of several projects that are finally starting to deliver on that vision of what things could be, and I'm super keen to see how the technology is put to the test and see how the blockchain performs. So first we're going to be covering what is a decentralized exchange and what problem it is trying to solve. And then we're going to do a bit of a deep dive into what is available now and what we can expect in the future. Spin Finance is live in main now. And what you realize really quickly is that it looks very much like some of the centralized exchange offerings. So if you're familiar with using things like Binance or FTX or KuCoin, you'll see that there is a chart. It looks a little bit spotty now. There's little volume. You can see the order book on the right. And then at the moment, they've got limit and market orders available. They also have futures and options coming up. We'll dig into some of these core concepts in just a minute. But first, you may be wondering, well, if it's exactly the same as the centralized version, why would you just decentralize? And this is where things start getting interesting, because for a lot of projects, you may have things that do the same or solve the same problem for the user, but the centralized version is better, let's be honest. So with decentralized exchanges, we need to focus on two things. What is the problem for the user that we're trying to solve? And the problems here are, I'd say, quite big. And the second one is the user experience of the decentralized world. And you may want to start thinking about how it compares with other blockchains and what Near offers. So first, let's start with the problem. For no particular reason, I'm just going to go back to the main page. There are several problems with centralized exchanges. One of them is, and we've all heard some horror stories, I don't want to name any names in particular, but with exchanges that enable you to do leverage trading, namely you put down assets as collateral and then you open a position that is 5, 10, 50, 100 times larger. We've all heard stories about the exchange being under heavy load and users getting locked out and there being strange blips in price and everyone getting liquidated. There's been many instances of users feeling like they're basically getting over. This is not safe for children. And we know that often these exchanges make a little bit of extra cash on the side by selling the order books. There's a real issue here with an information asymmetry between the exchange being able to see everyone's positions, including the collateral and at what price point they get liquidated, and then obviously locking people out of their account or not letting them close positions and then enabling other people to take advantage of that. This is very closely tied to a second problem, which is around the centralized database nature of these exchanges. So basically, when you go to a Binance or an FTX, the numbers that you see on the screen are just numbers in a database. And this is really important for everyone to understand. The numbers that you see on the screen are meant to be the same numbers as they have on the wallets of the exchange. So if on the exchange you're seeing that there are 100 Bitcoin and $100 million on the order book and there's liquidity, you really have to trust them that they actually have those Bitcoins and that there are real people bidding at those prices and that they actually have all the coins that they claim that they have to actually enable those trades. What is the alternative? The alternative is that someone just enters $100 million into the database and that is now tradable on the exchange. Remember, centralized exchanges are what they call on-ramps or off-ramps. Namely, they connect the real world with the Web3 world, the digital world. So in the same way that you're able to give them fiat currency into the bank account, they can receive crypto into the digital wallet. And then they have processes whereby they match that information with the interface on the exchange. But that's just software. You could actually run Binance technically on what would be like a testnet, or with fake values just entered in a database. So this is a pretty big issue. This is why Bitcoin maxis are very adamant on people always transferring the coins out of exchanges. First, to make sure that the coins that you have on the exchange are actually backed by assets on the exchange. but also to put pressure on them from retail users and just to keep them accountable in one way or another. The third problem, it's kind of a weird one, and it really gets me excited. It makes me bullish about DeFi, and it is that because cryptocurrencies are not securities and they're not really regulated in the same way that traditional financial products would be, centralized exchanges really do have a lot of leeway to do a lot of dubious stuff. I believe it is getting better. Now they have to comply with KYC. And I don't know what the BitMEX founders did, but they're in prison now. So I guess there are some illegal things. But overall, there is very little oversight. The key point here is that we're trying to build Web3 and the decentralized world to improve on the problems of the traditional financial world. So in the traditional financial world, while it may be true that we've got a lot of regulation to try to diminish this, corrupt, unethical behavior where you have information asymmetry and you take advantage of smaller players, we still see these kind of things happening all the time. I mean, does Robinhood ring a bell for everyone? It wasn't that long ago where the Robinhood users were locked out and then some big players stepped in and they were allowed to sell but not buy. Like, it was very dubious behavior that as long as people have control of that centralized trading place, they can take advantage. Robinhood is a really good example as well of a platform that actually sells their order book to market makers and they front run people. So in that sense, I'm really excited about DeFi, and we'll jump into SpinFi in just 1 minute, because we may start to see an example of technology being able to improve the state of affairs in a way that makes it better than centralized exchanges, and it removes the need for regulation. And this brings us right to where we want to be. What exactly is a decentralized exchange? So on the screen, it looks exactly the same. However, we can see how we start to tackle some of the problems immediately. Why? Because even though it looks exactly the same as Binance or FTX, this is just a front end, which I guess designers are lacking creativity nowadays. Not just kidding. It's actually really good practice to have interfaces that are very similar to what users are already used to using. But on the back end, instead of being a centralized database on AWS that the people that work at that company are able to edit and modify, there's a few people with admin access. SpinFi and all the other exchanges in its category are actually smart contracts. What does it mean? There is a limited range of logic embedded into the code, and the code is deployed on the blockchain. So there's a few things that change when you put the logic of the platform on a smart contract. The first one is it is open source. So anyone can go and inspect the code and understand what are the parameters and the rules and the processes by which the exchange works. Now, it is true that very, very few of us, and I'm not even in that group, are able to go and audit the smart contract. But in general, as a principle, it's really good to know that as a community, we have the ability to inspect if we had to. Second, we know that all the balances on the order book are actually deposited into the smart contract. It is not possible to enter coins as a balance on the order book or to trade with money that is not actually physically deposited into the order book. So if we go over here to the corner, we can see in the balances, the Spin Finance smart contract is reading both the assets that I have in my Near wallet and the assets that I have physically deposited into the smart contract. Exchanges like Spin Finance introduce a much higher degree of transparency and accountability. And this is where some of the regulation may start to be less relevant, because we have a lot of regulation to audit these people and to make sure that they're behaving in the right way with the assets that we're entrusting them. But with a decentralized exchange, you don't have to trust a third party. The assets are always either in your wallet or in the smart contracts within your wallet, so nobody else can really withdraw it. The only way that you can lose your assets is if you get wrecked, which is likely to happen. So let's dive a little bit deeper. One of the reasons why I really, really like Spin Finance now and why I really enjoyed preparing for this video is because the documentation is amazing. It is beautiful. It is not uncommon in technology, and especially in Web3, that we've got these giga brains building fantastic product, and the front end design and sadly the documentation is often terrible. Spin Finance documentation is an absolute dream. I don't know, maybe I'm weird, but it almost reads like fiction. I enjoyed reading these. I always recommend people to read the documentation because that's where you'll find all the goodies. It is neatly divided into several sections. If you're a little bit on the lazy side, no one's judging. The Welcome to Spin section has all the information that you need, including some pretty funny GIF halfway through just to keep your attention there. They're mindful of shortening attention spans. Then we've got the Spot section, which is what we were just looking at. This is the one that is live now. And further down, we've got the derivatives section, which is not live yet. So I am going to kindly skip over this section. I'll make a new video when it goes live. All I'm going to say is that sort of functionality of being able to create leverage trades is coming, and it's actually looking really, really good. At the very bottom, as if I was not already impressed, there is a basics section with concepts such as introduction to futures, more GIFs. We've got leverage, margin, summaries with pros and cons, and then introduction to options, more GIFs. I think that what really does it for me with Spin Finance is that they're both innovating on the technology side and making these very, very accessible. So if you're coming from the centralized exchange world and you're used to doing some pretty degen trading, you're going to love it. But also if you're brand new, you can come and at least understand how and why you're getting wrecked. They also have a glossary with a lot of information here, some formulas. Good read for sure. So going back to the Welcome to Spin section, we've got Spin's elevator pitch. Let's see how it compares to what I've been pitching for the last 15 minutes. Spin is a DeFi derivative infrastructure built on your protocol, a reliable and scalable layer 1 solution. So far, so good. The on-chain order book solution offered by Spin provides a SEX, which sounds very sexy, but it's actually centralized exchange, a SEX competitive experience to DeFi users. Founded in June 2021, Spin was the first product to offer on-chain order book solution on Near protocol. They got in by a tiny bit. There's also Tonic Finance. They have a testnet live now, and they've got a trading competition. We'll be making a video about them soon. Core know-hows of the Spin DEX. And this is where things start getting really interesting and where I was just learning a lot of new stuff. Central limit order book model. Spin uses a single asset pool, the liquidity of which is sent for market making to the order book. Thus, traders will always have enough liquidity for comfortable trading, and investors can profit from the sophisticated market making mechanism developed by the Spin team. Now, this is really interesting because normally you have to provide liquidity for each one of the pools, and there are always issues with capital efficiency. So, do your own research. I am a natural cynic. Every time that you read a team saying the sophisticated market mechanism that neither one of us can understand, but magically it's going to make you money, you should be careful. However, from what I can see from the Spin Finance team so far, I'm actually very hopeful and optimistic that this is going to be revolutionary. And basically what it is, if I had to explain it to people in the simplest terms I can imagine, is instead of adding 2 pairs to a pool, you add 1 pair which is allocated by the algorithm to the different pools based on, I guess, volume or demand or whatever the case may be. It seems to be a novel way to deal with the capital efficiency issues and maximize profit and improve the experience for everyone. And I suspect this is linked with the USDC staking element down here. So this is not live yet. I'd suggest you come have a read if you want to dive deep. But overall, we've got typically market makers need to have a lot of capital to work effectively, and regular users cannot make money on market making due to requirements of complex software. This would be like ultra high frequency trading software, presumably. Spin offers both groups of protocol users a USDC staking pool solution. Any Spin user can invest USDC in the staking pool, and these funds will be used by trusted market makers. For being engaged in this activity, lenders receive Spin tokens as an incentive, and market makers receive sufficient liquidity to ensure spreads and fair pricing. Sounds really interesting, and if it works as intended, I think it's going to be amazing. As always, do your own research. Next, we've got the spot trading. Spot trading is live now, and one of the key features that jumps out at me straight away is that they have much lower fees. So on Spin Finance, you would be paying only about 0.1%, while you would be paying about 0.3% on Ref Finance. This could get very interesting and very competitive soon. As we mentioned before, the liquidity is not very deep at the moment, but as liquidity increases, this could be a very, very compelling offering for a lot of people. And then we have the perpetuals and options, which we won't dive into today. Now we've got the Spin token. We will probably make another video on the Spin token closer to the IDO. As most tokens for exchanges, there will be fee discounts on the platform. Spin stakers are allowed to trade with larger leverage because no one has ever been wrecked by having more leverage. This is going to work out great. And Spin stakers can take part in the incentivization program. And now finally, let's look into the Freaky Elves collection. Freaky Diggy! This is what the Freaky Elves website looks like. They've all been minted by now, but fear not, if you've made it this far in the video, I am going to give away 1 or maybe 2, maybe 3 Freaky Elves. I need to go check how much the floor price is and how much I can afford. So stay tuned on my Twitter for instructions on how to claim one. Most likely it's going to be subscribing to this channel and retweeting using a hashtag. I'm not sure. Point is, each elf comes with special powers. Before we jump to that, I kind of like the narrative. I like the storytelling. The Freaky Elves folk are insane crypto nerds. I can relate. And derivative strangers that populated the city to give its inhabitants more opportunities on the Spin decks. Whoa. Each and every one of the 2022 elves have superpowers and they love gold. So to use your abilities, you have to pay 0.7 near or try your luck and win a free NFT through this channel. Yes, sounds like a deal to me. So the Freaky Elves will have special powers, including access to the IDO, premium access to new product features, and some social stuff on their Discord. Let's go to Sparas. This is the Freaky Elves collection, the secondary market. Jesus Christ! The floor price is 13.19. Maybe I'll be giving away just one. Now I'll buy. So this would be an extremely valuable giveaway. Please like, subscribe, share, retweet, send this video to all your friends, and you'll be getting $85 worth of value. Awesome. So just to start wrapping up, I mentioned that I love SpinFi because they've got a really nice documentation. They also have a really good Medium channel. This is where you get all the latest, such as them partnering with NearPay, instant swaps going on testnet, and much more. I'd like to draw your attention to a series called The State of Decentralized Derivatives Trading. It's a research series where they post some big brains information where I've been learning a lot. I could actually probably do videos just about this series. And look at this, only 1 clap and 1 comment. This is vastly underappreciated. The other 2 reasons why I love Spin is because they are big promoters of the Near ecosystem. They're constantly resharing tweets about the ecosystem, and they even created a Near Bullish Friday in the middle of a horrific winter. So I really like this approach of growing the pie for everyone. Here we go, sharing a post about inviting Terra members to join the Near community. And finally, the single-handedly most underrated Twitter account on all of the Near ecosystem and potentially all of DeFi. So I really like how the Spin Finance created the Spin Intern account. They scored 10 out of 10 on the meme culture. They've got an NFT as a display picture. They've got fantastic financial advice. And most importantly, they are creating some mad technical content. Look, I'm not going to lie. I didn't actually understand half of these things. Gas optimization on the Near protocol isn't really my thing. But I can see how this would be very valuable content. So if you're a builder out there, I would strongly recommend you give them a follow. They seem to be witty, they seem to be funny, and it will most likely be worth your time. And now finally, let's do a really quick overview of the Spin Finance. So as I mentioned, For now, you do have to deposit assets into and out of the SpinFi smart contract. So when you click deposit, you just choose the asset. At the moment, they've got USDC, USN, Aurora, and Ref. It automatically identifies how much you have in your wallet. There are trading limits at the moment just because we are on beta mode and the exchange is being audited, so we can cap everyone's losses if this shit hits the fan. I deposited some near earlier today, and I want to show you something super cool. If you do a market order, it will just do at the best available price. So it will just take the best price from the order book. But if you do a limit order, let's say you want to sell near when it gets to 750, and I'll sell the 1 year that I deposited. Check this out. I click sell and it automatically places the order. We can see the confirmation down here in the corner. Ask order placed 1 year at 7.5 USDC. And now we can see the new order down here. And then if it were to execute, you can always come and check the order history. Now I'm just going to cancel it because I don't actually want to sell near until we get to $100. And just by clicking the X, the order automatically cancels. Now, the reason why I'm highlighting this is because remember that this is happening on chain. These are transactions being printed somewhere on the new blockchain. And this really highlights the new user experience. So when you sign in, you're pre-approving some gas spending, and you must also be pre-approving some of the methods that allow you to sign for transactions automatically just by clicking on buttons around. So I am just mind blown and super exciting to see what the Spins Finance team builds, because they are able to replicate the user experience of centralized exchanges, but it is fully decentralized. So friends, I hope you have enjoyed this. As I said, we'll be making more videos as they keep releasing new features, including perpetuals and options. And there will be a Freaky Elf giveaway. So make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow me on Twitter. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.